Good. This is a big gym for Redpoint Fitness, and we're just going to go over a little bit of deadlift technique today. Deadlift is probably the most misunderstood exercise. Out of college, before I started competing in powerlifting, I learned how to brute pull 540 from the floor with no technique at all. When I started learning technique and started to learn how to deadlift properly, I was able to deadlift 700 pounds. And if I can deadlift 700 pounds, anybody can deadlift 700 pounds. I got really short arms and a tall torso. I probably got the worst deadlift body known to man. So basically, the biggest thing is you need to have a neutral spine. If you can't get a neutral spine from the floor, start with pin pulls and work on your flexibility, hip flexor, that sort of thing, until you can get a neutral spine. The next biggest thing is making sure that you set up a bar properly. Probably the biggest mistake people make on deadlifts is setting it up like it's an Olympic lift and getting your shoulders in front of the bar. We want our shoulders behind the bar so you can create like a teeter-totter. I learned this from Chuck Vogelpool. That's another thing. If you want to be a good deadlifter, you need to watch great deadlifters like Chuck Vogelpool, Travis Mash was a guy I watch all the time. I learned how to load the bar. You want to bend the bar with your body before you actually pull, so that you get that energy from the bar, not pulling your heels into the ground. But you make sure you watch great deadlifters. Get on the internet, type in guys like Chuck Vogelpool, Andy Bolton. Watch how they set up their deadlift. Watch how they use their stomach. Biggest thing I do, and really honestly, I can only tell you what works for me. You have to experiment and figure out what works for you. What works for me might necessarily work for you, but I can give you some principles to try, and you can fool around from there. I picked up from Jim Windler that the best way to figure out your conventional stance is hang from a chin-up bar, drop, and wherever your feet land. I like to start with a really narrow stance with my feet turned out a little bit. That's just for me, so it's a little easier for me to get to the bar. I like to set the bar up somewhere around my second shoelace, right around here. And I like to really get the tension on my arms and push out on my belt as hard as I can. But that's the biggest mistake people make, is they don't get their shoulders back behind the bar, and they don't get the leverage that they need pushing out on the belt and pulling back. I can't emphasize how important that is, to drive your heels into the ground and pull back. Justin here is going to walk me through a deadlift for you, so I can just pull a nice light single for you, just to show you what we're talking about, and then we'll go from there.